This is an important announcement for anyone thinking about advertising here on Everyone Loves Guitar. We've experienced incredible growth. We currently have over 82,000 monthly listens, and I would anticipate cracking six figures in the next few months. We've also grown our YouTube subscriber base by 72 times. During this time, we've kept our advertising rates consistent, but I wanted to let you know we'll be increasing these rates after the first of the new year. So if you're a business looking to generate new leads or increase your cash flow by adding new clients or customers, or if you're looking for general brand exposure, or if you're a label looking to promote new music and you want to lock into the current advertising rates before they go up at the end of this year, then listen closely. Fill in the short form at everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Even if you want to advertise next year, contact us now and you'll get to lock into the current rates before they go up at the end of this year. Thanks for listening. See you soon. If you want to buy or sell a home or investment property and you're here in the Tampa Bay area, in Hillsborough, Pinellas, or Pasco counties, then listen up. West Florida Real Estate is a local residential real estate broker that's helped over 250 Bay Area homeowners buy and sell their properties in the last 4 years alone. If you're looking to sell, you'll want to get their free report, The 7 Biggest Mistakes Homeowners Make When Hiring a Realtor. And if you're looking to buy a property, you definitely want to get your hands on the 21 Most Expensive Mistakes Tampa Home Buyers Make When Buying a Home. Each one of these reports is going to save you time and money. Inside, you'll discover the 7 most important things to consider when hiring a realtor, what to do if you're buying and selling a home at the same time, and the danger of choosing a realtor who agrees with everything you say. To get your hands on these free reports, head on over to westfloridarealestate.com. That's westfloridarealestate.com. Hey, this is Craig. If you like this show and you want to support it and you want to keep it free, head on over to everyonelovesguitar.com/support. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/support. Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, and we are with a gunslinger today. We're with the one and only John Carroll out of Texas. And before we get started, a couple of announcements. So I want to thank Alex Whedon and Justin Butler for connecting us. And also I wanted to remind you to don't forget to subscribe to the show on YouTube as well as wherever you listen to podcasts. And lastly, make sure you go to Everyone Loves Guitar and put your name or just your email address in there so you and I can connect. All righty, let's talk about my man, John Carroll. Raised in South Texas, now living in Central Texas via Nashville. I don't know what that means, but we'll figure that one out. He has over the last 30 years played locally, toured regionally, nationally, and internationally. He's been a session musician on regional and national levels. He's currently the lead guitarist and the MD for Texas music artist Cory Morrow, who he's played on and off with since 2000, with a couple of stints in Nashville mixed in there. He's also currently working on his own first album of instrumental music, and he's excited to share it when it comes out. He also recently did a really great song with Brent Mason. John's toured with Clay Baker, David Kersh, Chris Cagle, Joe Nichols, and again, the same Cory Morrow. He's contributed to studio recordings of countless artists, and here's just like a very small bunch of them. Again, Chris Cagle, Cory Morrow, Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees, Pat Green, Kevin Fowler, Jim Lauderdale, Josh Ward, Tracy Byrd, Alex DePew with Rhonda Vincent, James Land, and loads of others. And he's performed live either as a fill-in or as a guest musician or as a sideman. Jim Lauderdale, Robert Earl Keen, Charlie Daniels, Pat Green, Randy Rogers Band, same Brent Mason, and Les Paul. Whether he's playing live or in the studio as a sideman, he's there. John's thought process is he's there to serve others and not himself. If his name is on the album cover or marquee, then it can be about him. But if he's working for another artist in the studio, it's going to be about them and their music, which is why he's succeeded as a sideman. John says, ours is an ego-filled industry, and it's necessary to check those egos at the door in order to do the job required as a session or live musician. Without any further ado, John, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man.
And it was my pleasure, man. And I wish the Yankees had won. You're sitting there with your Astros hat on.
Yeah. I mean, it's exciting. It's like happy to have a pro team, around here that's being, truly successful and good. And man, that Yankees team they're always, they've always got just guys coming up through their farm system or whatever that are just, it's just like, why do they keep getting these guys? That it's just, there's just a, that's, like I'm a Cowboys fan. That's America's team. In baseball, the Yankees. They're America's
definitely.
team, just no question about it. And so that was an exciting series.
Very much so, man.
Just it was so close. One swing of the bat could have gone either way, and it was it was really that was a lot of fun, man. Hats off to the New York. I had my New York.
I know. I was impressed with that. I couldn't believe you had a New York cup. I'm surprised they let you have that in Texas.
Well, I bought this. This is my favorite coffee cup. I bought this in 2001 when I was
a souvenir shop in.
Yes, but we were staying at the hotel at the World Trade Center.
Oh, the Marriott.
We had just played the big stage when I was with Chris Cagle.
Wow.
And, I stood on top of the South Tower, and this was 3 months, maybe before it was gone. And I got this, and so that's mainly the reason why this mug is so special. And I kept it all these years, and I drink out of it every day when I'm home. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, man, you got to play, speaking of the baseball, the national anthem at the opening of the American League Championship Series last week in Houston. What was that like?
It was really, really neat. It wasn't completely unfamiliar. We've done a few games for University of Texas, where we've done that. We've done the Texas Bowl.
How many people are in that stadium, University of Texas? It's probably bigger than the Astrodome, I would imagine, no?
The two games we did were at NRG Stadium. It was the Texas Bowl. It was a bowl game.
Okay.
And we did that twice, and then we did do a UT game one time in which it was really funny because they didn't have an ear monitor set up, and the PA was all the way at the end of one at the end of the
other goalpost.
So you're on the 50-yard line, you strum, then you hear it, then it goes and hits the bleachers on the other end and starts coming back in this comb filtery weird. So it's like strum, bling, and that's just one note, and
holy.
And yeah. And so we were trying to figure out, we'd gone the day before trying to figure out how to do it. And Cory was like, well, look, what if you just play and
they don't have a PA system?
Well, it was all the way at I think they've upgraded the PA since then. This was about 4 years ago, but all the announcing, it was just at one end. There's the big screen, and just at one end of the stadium to just blast over the whole. And so he's like, well, what if you just tap your foot deliberately, and I'll watch that and try to kind of keep time with that and singing. And I said, Cory, you're going to have a camera probably in your face.
Yeah.
You're not going to want to be staring down at my feet. So we actually, our front of house guy got one of our own, one rack unit out of our ear rack and brought it. And we went back that morning, and he had to stand us really close too because all the interference. And we had one mix, and we're able to get it done. Typically the UT band plays the anthem at the games there, but they've started having
professionals,
guest artists and stuff. They said Willie came in to do it, and he had trigger, and he started playing, and he just stopped playing and just finished the song because it's that and when you do the anthem and you don't have ear monitors, especially it's just in those stadiums like that, all the I'm not ragging on anybody for messing up that people that have done that, and it's like until you've stood there and had to actually do that. So thank goodness for ear monitors. So anyway,
but how was the experience itself? Was it cool?
It was really cool. It was just great. The place was electric. You know, I mean, we've got the Yankees team over here and the Astros team over here, and we're just right behind home plate. And you know, I don't know. I don't know who did it. Maybe it was Cory's management or something. But and I didn't notice it till after I listened to the feed when the announcer said Texas artist Cory Morrow and esteemed guitarist John Carroll.
Yeah, that was really cool, man. I heard the replay. Somebody put it on social media. It was nice. It was really cool. Esteemed guitarist.
Yeah, esteemed. So I'm esteemed now.
You are, man. I only have the esteemed on this show, man. Hey, how did you first get started in the music business? And like, was there like a break that you got at that point in time?
Well, I was just playing in a band when I was just out of high school with my brother, and my brother's a radio DJ, and so he wanted to sing. He's a good singer, and he wanted to sing some songs, and we started a band, had a band for a couple of years, and didn't play very much. We rehearsed all the time. We would meet in his garage, so it was kind of more of a hobby at the time. But and then I got into another band, and that's when I was like, hey, maybe I could make some money at this, and I was in that band for a year, and then I got picked up by Clay Blaker, and that's really where I cut my teeth and got to do a lot of cool stuff. Clay was a very well-known regional artist around Texas and songwriter. He had several songs recorded by George Strait, and so we did. We did a lot of original music, and it was at a time when it was in the early 90s when live music and people just wanted to hear bands spit out whatever was on the radio more and more in a lot of the places where Clay used to play, and it was kind of difficult there for a while because we would go into maybe a new market, especially out of state, where we would get booked in a club, say, and we would go up there and we're playing, this Americana or even old Bob Wills and, Western swing 4/4 shuffles. And the people, I remember distinctly being somewhere up in Kansas, and there was this couple with the matching brush popper, shirts, and they're looking at us like, what are you doing? Why can't you play Boot, Scoot, and Boogie? Or, which, I mean, I don't have any, I love Brooks and Dunn, and I love all that stuff, but
that wasn't the job at hand.
Yeah. And so, and then I guess jumping from there to I mean, that's pretty much where I got most of my musical education, I guess, and started maturing as a musician, expanding stuff that I'm listening to. It's funny when I got the gig with Clay, one of my mentors, Tommy Dedamore, is a great steel player, and he hands me a list of stuff to learn, and I just told him, I said, man, I don't know, I'm like 21 years old, and I was like, I don't know about this Western swing. And he goes, it's just 2 wrong notes in a row. He goes, and he said, if it's jazz, it's 3.
That's pretty funny, man.
So I learned how to play 2 wrong notes in a row, and I was like, oh, okay.
So, man, it's funny because who Bill Evans, the piano player, a jazz guy?
The name.
He's pretty well-known jazz player, but I'm watching a documentary on him, and I was thinking about that because I'm not really a jazz guy, and it's conflicted. A lot of people people like worship or love, it's a love or hate genre of music. And I'm listening to the notes and I just said, I don't get it. I'm not there, and because it always sounds like two wrong notes is what, or maybe three, is what you said. So I understand that, but obviously it's not, and it's complex, and, it's just not me. But anyway, I just thought of that when you reminded me that.
My favorite is the Spinal Tap. Have you ever seen the Spinal Tap on jazz?
Ages ago, man. Ages
They're
ago.
playing it wrong. They're giving out degrees for how to play it wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's great. But I actually moved into an apartment in San Marcos, and I had been moving all day, and I was sitting out on my little awning.
Where's San Marcos? We're in Texas.
It's just south of Austin.
Okay.
In between San Antonio and Austin.
Okay.
And this guy from next door and upstairs leans over and goes, Hey, man, how much would you charge to give me lessons? And I look up and I recognized him. I'm like, do I know you from? I've seen you somewhere. And he goes, yeah, I've seen you too. And it turns out that several months before, we were on this weird little battle of the bands for a Budweiser sponsorship or something like that. It may not have been Budweiser. I don't remember now, but and I just remember seeing this guy's face. He was a singer in one of these South Texas dance hall bands. And so that's where we connected anyway. So he's my neighbor. Well, it's David Kersh. And
oh my God, that's so funny.
And then, a few years later, he was signed on Curb Records, and funny thing, he had said some years before, man, I want you to be my guitar player, and I know I've made some kind of, I think I was a little bit jaded toward all the popular stuff at the time, because I was in this band that was different and original stuff, and I just wanted, why can't you just listen to this stuff? But anyway, I saw him on a TV performance, and he just blew me away. And I called him and I said, hey, man, just great job, really, seriously. Just let you know I'm a believer, man. And
that's really cool.
And he was like, well, you want to come play guitar with me? And I'm like, I think I do. I think it's time for a change. And of course, got to travel all over the country, and we worked a lot. About 3 years I was with him.
That's great, man. It's funny how you started teaching him guitar lessons.
Well, yeah, I mean, he asked me that. I never actually did teach him, but we,
you just became buddies.
Our apartments were right by the pool, so we played volleyball and swam, and we were just just buds. And in fact, it was funny. He commented on my one of my posts from yesterday, just saying, "Hey, man, miss you." And
that's cool, man.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Hey, let's talk about, I want to ask you, you've worked with a bunch of artists. I want to throw out some names. Tell me about how you got the gig and an interesting or funny story. Let's start with Mickey Dolenz, one of the Monkees. Is he the only monkey that's still alive? Or is
I don't know.
I think Michael Nesmith may also be alive.
Yeah, he may be. Now, I don't know Mickey personally.
Okay, you just sessioned for one of his records?
A friend of mine, and actually he was, these stories can get a little convoluted, and I'm sorry, but my older brother, when he was out of high school and he moved to San Antonio, he became friends with this man named David Harris. And they got to talking, and it discovered that that we were related, like in a distant, like second or third cousins or something weird, but
I thought everybody in Texas was kind of related.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
I'm just kidding you, man. That's like a Yankee thing to say, isn't it? That's like so obnoxious. I was just messing with you, man.
You know it, man. But, he was, and he's this gifted arranger, producer, keyboard player, and he was a music director at a church in San Antonio for a few years, and then he moved out to California. Took a job doing that out there, and he began, arranging and producing for different people. And he, at a certain time, had started working with Mickey.
That's wild.
And so in 2008. And I had gone I'd flown out to Redondo Beach, where he lived at the time, and in his home recording studio played on some tracks that he was producing, some like little contemporary Christian things, and it was really cool for me because when I did it, I was playing to Vinny Colaiuta playing, was
wow.
on drums. And so
Vinny was the drum guy on there.
Yeah. So, but again, the drums were recorded like the day before, and then I fly in and I'm playing some guitar on there. But
still pretty cool.
Telling my friends, oh, by the way, I'm on a record with Vinny.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
It's just neat, But so fast forward to 2008, I believe I was traveling with Chris Cagle, and we had a few days off, and so we were staying at the Sportsman's Lodge, which is, I think it's in the book, that's where you stay when you go to LA and you're in a band.
Right.
But and I had, I hit David up and I said, hey man, I'm in town. He's like, hey man, can I come get you? I'd love you to play on some stuff for me. So he comes and picks me up, and we're driving back across town, and he's telling me this story. So, I've been working with Mickey, and we've got this project that we've been working on for a few years, and he's really wanting to maybe kind of get it, get the rest of it recorded. And I mean, I start realizing, wait, you want me to play on some Mickey Dolenz stuff? Really?
Which is, if you're a baby boomer, that's like, yeah, really cool. And
so I just went in and plugged in direct, used Guitar Rig, I think, plug in, and I played on 3 tracks. He did an album, and they released it, I believe, finally in 2012. It was called Remember. And it was a really cool album because it was all tunes that either he was connected with in some way or another, or tunes that just inspired him. And so the 3 that I played on was one was Johnny Be Good, Old Fashioned Love Song, and I played on Sugar Sugar, which,
oh my God, wow, the last 2 really shake the memory bank.
If you know the story of Sugar Sugar.
No, I don't. I didn't know I know the song really well. But.
Well, it was brought to the Monkees. This is your next hit. We want you to do Sugar Sugar. And the Monkees said, well, no, we want to write our own music. And so the label said, okay, write your own music then. And they released Sugar Sugar under the band name The Archies, which had zero members.
Oh, I didn't know that. So that was
it was a made up band so that they could get that song out.
Oh, wow. So it was like some session people.
Yeah. And but he recorded it, and it was fun to play on it because they were all different arrangements. And but that album is really good because not my favorite tracks are the ones I actually didn't play on. The title track, Remember, has this really long, extended Phil Keaggy guitar solo that's just, man, it's just so good. It's so inspiring. anyway, it's a really cool. So Cagle's on that record a bunch, and so yeah, so that's how I.
Did Mickey actually play? What did he do? Sing or
I think he
drums?
sang, and I think he played some acoustic guitars on there, and he may have even done some percussion and stuff. I don't remember, but it's really fun record.
That's cool, man. How about Pat Green?
Well, Pat, I know Pat from my association with Cory. Cory and Pat started playing gigs together when they were in college up at Texas Tech University.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, so they've been buddies, and then Pat, especially around 2000, he started just taking over the world as an independent artist. I watched that same year, as a matter of fact, when I moved back to Nashville, I watched like all the majors walk up on his bus to offer him record deals, and he turned them down. He was like, why would I, I'm selling maybe 300 pieces a week. That'll get me dropped off of your label, but it's doing it myself. I'm becoming wealthy.
Good for him. So you were his guitar player at that time?
No, I was not Pat's guitar player. I was playing with Cory and.
But you shared a tour bus.
And no, I was back in Nashville because I had just moved back up to start Cagle off, and Pat had been coming through. Okay. But I had gotten to know Pat and the guys in his band from the time from the first time I played in Cory's band, and I've done three different stints with Cory, but
that's not uncommon.
But
at all.
They brought me in as far as on Pat's on the wave. I think it was the Wave on Wave record, but I played on one track, and I turned around because that's like literally my only gold record.
Gold record, man.
At least it's the only plaque I have. I think a couple of the Chris Cagle records were gold, but I never got a plaque from him.
Oh, we could out him right now. Chris.
But but Pat, I wasn't even in his band, and he was like, "Hey, did you get?" And he just went out of his way to, and
that's really cool.
Nice little plaque. So I, keep it on the wall. I got me an office gold record on the wall.
Got me an office with a gold record on the wall.
I should write that.
Yeah, man, that sounds like a song to me.
But yeah, that so that's how I've known Pat. Every now and then I'll sit in, like we do a show together. His guitar player Chris Crobot will call me up and, hey, come play, and so it's always fun. It's a pretty cool family down here, just in this area, this Texas. All these guys, we all know each other. We all love each other, and it's cool, man. Pat's a great guy.
What were you doing? You moved back and forth to Nashville a couple of times. What was that about?
Yeah, well, after my divorce, my first wife, my father had gotten cancer, and I moved home to be with Mom.
Sorry, man.
And I played, and so I just basically lived.
Where were you living at the time?
I was living in San Marcos.
Okay.
And then I moved back home down to Pleasanton, Texas, which is it's due south of San Antonio, about 30 miles.
Okay.
And I was staying with my mom and helping her out, and I was playing with Clay. And then when I started playing with David Kersh, we were just gone. And so I was in Nashville more than I was anywhere else, but we were, holed up at the Shoney's Inn for 3 or 4 days, and then we'd go back out for the weekend. And so in '99, I thought I should just move up here. That way I could actually have my own place to go. And I should move up here anyway, because this is where, is where all the action is. But when David called it quits, it was like September or October of '99.
David Kersh.
Yes. His management held me on retainer, said, look, he's done, but we're going to pay you a retainer through the end of the year to do a New Year's Eve gig and then to go to Maui with him right after New Year's. And we had done this 2 years in a row. There's this guy, I don't know if he still does it, J.D. Haas in Nashville, who did these trips, like come be on the set of the Reba show, and then we'll go that kind of thing. And it's come to Maui with your favorite star. He sells these packages, and so we did that too. It was really a lot of fun.
That's not a bad thing to get held on retainer for.
No, I know. It's really cool. And
all right, so, you're done, but we're going to pay you as long as you're willing to go to Maui.
Yeah, right.
Well,
but
okay.
Yeah. It was a tough, but I remember being on the plane from, on the leg from LA over to Maui and thinking to myself, okay, I'm paid up and I have 0 gigs in the future.
Yeah, which is scary.
What am I going to do next? And I'm in the Maui airport, and I turn my phone on, and I see that I have a voice message. Hey, John, this is Cory Morrow. I met you a couple of months ago when you were off the road in Texas. And listen, I'm recording this live album down here. I'd love you to come play on it. And so,
how good did that feel, man?
Well, it was just like, you know what? I can at least enjoy myself now while I'm here without worrying about, because I know that there'd be at least some kind of income in the immediate future. And so I was like, so when is it? And I called him back, when is it? And it was like, oh, I said, okay, so listen, I'm in Maui right now and I'm going to be here for a week. And so literally I got home, went to sleep there. They had overnighted CDs to me. So when I woke up from sleeping, I got these CDs and I pop them in my Discman and I load my car up and I'm driving all night from Nashville to Austin to go make rehearsal next day.
Wow.
And because we got a day of rehearsal and then it's gig. And so I hung around and played there were like 4 performances that all came up for the recording of the live record. And then the rest were just other gigs that he had. Mm. And so I stayed around for about 8 months. Well, all in the meantime, I had been working with David Kersh's management had this guy named Chris Cagle who had written a song on that Kersh recorded on his second record, a song called I Breathe In, I Breathe Out, which was Chris recorded later and it was his only legitimate #1 hit. And so I had been kind of going back and forth because I still had my apartment up there, and I was recording on these demos, which ended up being Chris's first record.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was some really cool stuff. The guy that produced this stuff, a guy named Robert Wright, he was just immensely talented producer who he could just hear something and then all of a sudden have this massive arrangement popping in his head. And he'd be like, I'll be back in 20 minutes. He'd come back with a detailed chart. And so when that started taking off, I made the decision, I'm gonna come back to Nashville and play with Chris Cagle. And so I did that for about 1.5 years. And at the beginning of 2002 is when Cory had really started to blow up down here. And it was strictly a financial thing. Cory's like, look, I can offer you this, which was about 3 times what I was making with Chris. And
wow.
I'm like, Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. So I moved back to.
Plus, cost of living is probably lower where you're at.
I don't.
In Nashville.
Not really. I mean, maybe now.
Maybe now, yeah. And that back then, Nashville hadn't blown up the way it is now.
But so I moved back here and started playing with Cory, and I was here for 4 years, and I decided I wanted to go back to Nashville and give the in-town thing a shot. And I went back to work with Cagle, and I was there for about 3 years. And then he stopped touring for a while. He decided he was going to take an extended time off. So I was like, oh, well, we need to do something. And it was a struggle for a few months until another friend of mine, Dan Agee, who we had played in Chris's first band together. He was playing with Joe Nichols, and he said, "Hey man, you want to come over and play acoustic and some electric?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it work, yeah."
Oh, cool.
And of course, I enjoyed playing with Joe, and it was a good thing for a year. But I got homesick. We had a couple of days off, and my brother. We were in San Antonio, and my brother said, "Hey man, when's the last time you went dove hunting?" And I'm like, 20 years maybe, I don't know.
Wow.
And he's like, "Well, you know what? I'm going to come get you when I get off the air in the morning." My brother's a radio DJ. So when I get off the air, I'm going to get you a 1-day out of state pass, and we'll go down to South Texas and, see if we can, shoot some birds. And I mean, nothing was flying, and whatever did present itself, I couldn't hit. It was awful. But the thing was, I was sitting in the South Texas brush country with a shotgun in my hand, and I went,
now that's a song.
This is home. And
so you missed it. It felt good being there.
Yeah. And I said, and I thought, plus we have HEB and Whataburger, which are,
I don't know any of those things.
HEB is a grocery store. And,
okay.
When we moved, we were living in Nashville. My wife and I were like, "Oh, we miss HEB so much. Kroger sucks."
That's so funny. The things you get used to, creature comforts.
Yeah. And Whataburger is the big Texas
hamburger chain or something.
Hamburger chain. I used to go to Whataburger with my parents in Corpus Christi, where I was born.
Oh wow!
Which was where Whataburger started, the number one, the very first one. When I was a little kid.
And the grocery store is called HEB.
Yeah, HEB, Harold something, Butt, Butt. Butt is the last name of that family, I think. And but yeah, it's HEB.
Never heard of that, man. That's really wild. I've heard of Kroger, of course, and never heard of HEB. Okay.
Yeah, it's mostly a Texas thing.
And so y'all moved back down there, and
yeah, in 2010, and I've been here ever since. This is literally so this is like my third stint with Cory, and the longest stint that I've ever been in any one place as far as a regular band. But Cory's he's the best boss I've ever had. He's just really just been so generous, and and in fact, when we talk about guitars later, there's a story there too.
Good, man.
But yeah, and so that's I forgot where we were, but yeah.
I was just asking about back and forth with Nashville.
Yeah. So that was that was the back and forth to Nashville. I didn't really go at it like I should have when I was in town there, because at least I ask a lot of the session players that I had known and worked with. I'm like, what do I need to do? They're like, well, you got to get off the road, save up 6 months worth of expenses, and just be here. And I'm like, oh.
It's tough when you got a family. It's hard to do that, man.
Yeah, it was really hard, and also like I was told the number of dates that we would be working per year, and I thought, okay, that's doable. And what ended up happening was we were not close to the number of dates I was told we would work.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the year, that's also another big chunk. And so it was hard. It was hard to get ahead, but I mean, there were things I certainly could have done in retrospect to really, get myself out there a little bit more. But I didn't. And I, I mean, I came back here and I've been blessed to do lots and lots of sessions down here, for a lot of the regional artists and it's great, and I mean, and then the Mickey Dolenz thing came out, in 12 while we were here. And that was fun. I was like, at least I can, add that to my resume.
Talk about your sessions. What would you say is the most exciting session you've been on?
Ooh.
Or interesting? Most memorable. Let's talk that.
Gosh, I don't think I could narrow it down to any one, but I think it was such an exciting time when we were making the Chris Cagle stuff. And I was working with all these, these monster musicians. And, cause I mean, all the session players in Nashville, they're all monsters, and so probably playing on the Cagle records, because even when I moved back here, the producer would have me come up to Nashville and play on his second and third record. And I'm like, there's no shortage of guitar players up here, but they wanted something that sounded as, to quote Jerry Reed, they wanted something that ignorant. I guess they had to get me.
But that's that is unusual, as you know, because that's not common that touring guys are playing with on the record, especially out of Nashville. Almost ever it happens, very rarely.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and there's a reason for that, because I mean, it's one thing to copy what was played, and it's another thing to sit there on the spot
and create it on the fly.
Come up with a part and things, it was fun doing the fourth record because he changed producers. And so instead of being like the main guitar guy, I was just sort of the other guy. But I got to work with Bukovac, which was great.
He's a great player, man.
And I got to work with Kenny Greenberg, which was a real treat, because I think maybe he sensed a little uneasiness or nervousness, maybe, or maybe he just, I don't know, maybe he this is just how he is, but he kind of went out of his way to make me comfortable, and kind of said, hey, what if you land on this, on right over here, and I'll handle these parts. And like we discussed our ideas back and forth. And
that was really cool.
I just uncovered a track that I completely forgot about over the summer that was on that record that me and Kenny Greenberg laid down. And I remember going, oh my goodness, that's right. That there was no overdubs on this. We died with this. We just cut this live, the two of us together, and it was just killer, and it's sort of like it was a shot in the arm, because it was like, my confidence level was not at all where it could have been or should have been. And when I heard that, I thought, man, we kind of played our asses off on
That's good,
that
man.
one. It was a rockin' tune called "It's Good to Be Back." I think it might have been the first track on that album. My Life's Been a Country Song, I believe, Chris Cagle. But anyway, that was a fun thing.
That's cool, man. Those guys are both great players, Bukovac and Greenberg.
Yeah. Well, and two, it was funny because Scott Hendricks was producing, and he was the one who originally signed Cagle. He heard the demos and went, "This is the record. So just go and finish that." And he signed him to Virgin Nashville, and Virgin closed, and then Cagle went over to Capitol. And then, 2007, he's cutting the record, and Scott's producing. And it was during the 2 days, finishing up the record with Kenny Greenberg, that Scott came to me and goes, "Man, where'd you come from?" And I'm like, "Well, you remember the stuff all that other stuff. I did that, remember? But you know, it was a working with Kenny, I think, gave me a real good shot in the arm. And
that's good, man.
And I, you know, and Scott said, I'm having you out to my place for the rest of the overdubs on this, man. You know, so it was
that's really cool. You know, so it felt great.
Yeah, it did. And but there's a lot of you know, a lot of fun session stuff that happens here. A lot of really fun stuff I've done at and my favorite studio in the world to work at is a place over in East Texas, in Tyler, Texas, called Rosewood Studios. And this guy's been there for 40 years, and he's made a lot of big records, and he's had all the cats, you know, in his room over in East Texas. He did all the big Leanne Rimes records back in the 90s, you know, when she was younger, and when she, you know, when she really came on the scene, but anyway, to be a part of that team is really cool. You know, we've done some cool records. That's what I did, the Tracy Bird record there a few years ago. And
it's called Rosewood Studios, you said? Rosewood
Studios, Tyler, Texas.
Very cool.
Yeah, and those guys are Jedi. That's where I'm doing my album. And,
at Rosewood. Hey, let me just tell you though, it's interesting a lot of times, and I hear this often. Both of the guys that recommended I speak with you were enamored with your playing. You know, they both said you're a monster of a player. So it happens often where others see you differently, you know, where they're looking up to you because of your playing, you know. So
yeah, man,
you're well sought after, man.
It's really, you know, because I mean, these guys, they're so kind, and it does make you feel good. It makes you feel validated, I guess, when you know, when your peers,
yeah, man,
dude, you know?
Yeah,
and yeah, you know, and it's funny because I had run into Justin. We were doing a show together in Houston, and I just mentioned, he's like, so what's new, you know? And I said, well, you know, I'm trying to get this record done. And I said, Alex Whedon hit me up the other day, saying that he was going to recommend me for, he's like, well, you know what? You should totally be on there. I'm going to you know, so.
Because he called me up. I haven't spoke to him in a while. I mean, we talk on social media once in a blue moon, but by and large, nothing on the phone. And I think he called me or like sent me a message, right? Like went out of his way specifically. So.
Yeah. And I'm grateful for that, you know, because both of them are just, they're tremendous players, and Justin's a monster.
Yeah, he really is. He works hard, man. And he's really good at everything. He's just a high performer. Like he's a chef. He's a high performer at that. I mean, he's just, you know, whatever he does, you know, he's got his side business with the pedals and the amps, and he works on his car. I mean, he's just a high performing guy, a lot of energy. I really have a ton of respect for him, man.
Yeah, man. He's awesome. I guess I got to know him through our mutual friend, Chris Scrobot, who plays guitar with Pat Green. You should probably have him on here.
You know, I've been referred to him. So now I got so many people now that like when I hear somebody like second or third time, then I say, okay, it's time. I have to have some like signals, because like I'll never get, you know, it's funny because sometimes people say, what are you gonna do if you run out of guitar players? I'm like, well, I'm not going to worry about that today. First of all, I don't think that's going to happen. Second of all, right. You know?
Yeah. Chris is another monster player who's I've never heard get a bad tone. We had a show with them one time and I told him about this, and I said, you know, you guys had to fly in because then all your gear is like in another state. And so you had backline gear. And I thought maybe just once I'm going to have better tone than him because I'll have my amp and my stuff, and you'll have to use a rented gear. And no. Doesn't matter what he plugs into, man. It's just like I'm just like, oh, why can't I get that tone?
That's funny, man.
But yeah, he's a great guy, great player.
And oddly enough, he got referred to me by a guy in New York City. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. He's a wonderful player. Killed it.
You grew up in South Texas, or you originally from there. What was growing up like there for you? What was your childhood like growing up there?
You know,
I assume
church.
it was really rural.
Yeah. I was born in Corpus Christi,
Oh, okay.
and then
That's a big, or that's a good size.
it's a city, but it's not, it's not as big as San Antonio or Austin but when I was 5 years old, we uprooted and moved up north to Pleasanton, Texas, which was a very small town. In fact, the street that I grew up on when we moved there hadn't been paved yet.
Oh, wow. That is rural.
Just a dirt road. Wow. And I remember it was a big deal, when the street got paved. And
yeah. How do you keep car? I mean, it's a stupid, ignorant New York City housing project guy question. You can't keep your cars clean if you're living on a dirt road, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's got to be, and what's funny is that stuff it has carried over. I don't ever wash my truck
just because
I think, I should take this to the car wash and clean it, but I think it's just ingrained.
It's just not what you do. Yeah.
But I should take better care of my things.
No, I get it. I get it.
But yeah, I mean, if I had 2 or 3 years in, I guess, they came and paved the road, and, it started growing a little bit, but, still a small town. Everybody knows everybody. And,
lots of church, you said. What else?
Yeah. I grew up, in church, and, very sheltered, did none of that rock and roll.
Wow.
I was the youngest of 3 children. And, they were probably more lenient, and no, definitely more lenient with me than my brother or my sister.
Oh, dude, that's what happens. By the time you get to the third, it's like, please just don't bug me. Mm-hmm. You got no energy left. Trust me on that, man.
And so, I mean, when I got in high school, all my friends would, or not necessarily my friends, but everybody people would be like, there was a place over in a neighboring town called Poteet. There's a place called the Kicker Palace where, they would have little dance hall bands come in, playing, a Friday or Saturday night. And, everybody would go over there, and
go to Poteet. Yeah, the town was called Poteet?
Poteet.
Holy crap.
And not me, not allowed to go to them dances,
Oh, wow. So your family was very religious and not, yeah.
I mean, to a degree, yeah, but there was a lot of legalism, and some of it I'm eternally grateful for, and
sure.
Some of it I feel like, okay, that I don't think I'm going to raise my kid this way, but
yeah,
so yeah, I mean, the first, like rock and roll stuff that I was listening to, I'll never forget. My brother brought home this record by Andre Crouch and the Disciples, live in London, and and I would listen to it on headphones, because even my father, he was very skeptical of things that even sounded not like
Western swing,
what he thought Christian music should sound like. Yeah. Now we had Merle Haggard records, and Johnny Cash and things like that when I was a little kid, and I wore those records out, but rock and roll was, I think that there was a big, I think there was a concerted effort on the part of some in the mainstream Christian era to demonize the rock and roll. You know, they were looking for things. They began looking for things that just weren't there, in my opinion.
Sure.
Know? And so, but I just, some of this music energized me. I thought, hey, you know, this music is good. It's got this groovy beat, and they're singing, they're worshiping Jesus. They're singing about Jesus, you know, so I don't think this is wrong.
Yeah.
And
this was Andre Crouch and the Disciples.
Yeah. And
I never heard of that. What kind of music was that?
You know, it was like just real soulful, you know, R&B kind of gospel stuff. And you know, he just had this massive band, you know, with all these great players, Hadley Hawkinsmith, Bill Maxwell, I think, was a drummer. They were, I don't know too much about the whole band. I just remember there's a bass player in the band named James Felix, who would play these amazing bass lines while also singing this amazing stuff. Like he would take lead parts, and you're going, that's the bass player, and he's also singing that, and they're like two completely separate parts, and you hear what he's playing, and you're like, how is that possible? But that was just his thing, you know. And
I'm gonna check that out. I've never heard that. Andre Crouch and the Disciples.
But you know, another record that my brother brought home was another live record called How the West Was Won, the number one, by Second Chapter of Acts. Phil Cagle was on there, did a set, and a band called David. And I think that was what they called the backing band, which, you know, Phil kind of played in the whole night, but then he did his own set of stuff. And this was the first time I'd ever heard Phil Cagle. And that just, oh my goodness, I started getting all these, you know, I learned to do the pinky, you know, play a note and then open the volume with your pinky.
Right.
Doing that, you know, I was like, wow, it sounds like it's cool. It sounds like a horn or something. It's just amazing. I've never heard anything like this, you know.
And when did you start playing guitar though? How did you your folks were okay with that?
You know, it was funny. Dad would say, you know, and this is I'm probably in my early teens, you know, he's like, oh, well, I still don't like that music, but I like it when you do that trick with the volume pedal, you know, or with the volume knob,
right.
Not the volume pedal, but you know, and he would say, well, throw that Phil Cagle thing in there, you know. So it's like, and but I was 7 years old, and it was a week before Easter Sunday. Now I'd already been singing in church. When I was 2 years old, when we were living in Corpus Christi, I told the preacher, and I don't remember this at all, but you know, my mom tells the story. I told the preacher, I got a special. I want to sing in church today. She said, all right. And he called me up and
at 2.
And Mom, I ran out. She reached for me, but I was already gone and all trucking it on my way up there to sing. She thought I was going to sing a Merle Haggard song because I had all these, you know, Hobo Bill or something, an old Jimmy Rogers song. She thought
she was sweating it.
She thought I was going to sing that, but you know, I mean, I remember I sang "Sheltered in the Arms of God" was the name of the song I sang. And
wow.
and you know, which again. These are none of the, I can't remember any of this stuff, but you know, that was what I did. So it was a week before, it was Sunday before Easter Sunday. And my dad said, hey, why don't you come here for a second? I want to, if I show you some chords, you think, you know, and I mean, my earliest, the only live music really I was exposed to was that in church and like my dad and my brother playing around the house. And I made guitar, you know, I made guitar noises and stuff while I was listening to records and you know, so I had this, you know, the stuff was all in there in the noggin. And so he said, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to teach you 3 chords and if you sing this song and accompany yourself on guitar next Sunday, if you do good, I'll let you keep playing. That's what he said. So he taught me G, C, and D throughout the week, and so Easter Sunday I sang the Old Rugged Cross, and that's when I began playing. But I played in church. I practiced, I think, my chords a little bit around the house, but then for a certain time, I mean, my practice regiment was church. I would, when I finally got my own guitar, it literally lived at church.
I've heard this from a load of guys got started playing in church. I mean, loads of guys got started playing in church, and that was very fulfilling. And a lot of churches, the bigger churches, they got massive bands, great budgets, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not uncommon. How did you ever did it cause conflict because you wanted to play, more, I'm not going to say aggressive, but aggressive for your parents' taste music?
Yeah. And it's a funny thing because the things I was starting to do when I was in high school, my dad absolutely encouraged as far as just my playing techniques and things. And it's funny because there was a split in our home church that happened when I was in the 9th grade. And, half the church left and we started another church, and we parted ways with the local Assembly of God church there, and just silly stuff. But we were an independent church for a while, and then we joined the Pentecostal Church of God, which
those are the guys that are doing backflips down
even more legalistic.
Yeah.
And like, when we went to the youth camp, like the girls all still had to wear dresses, and, so it's like, man, it's hot out here. They're just real, and I remember playing one time at a youth rally with one of the, another really gifted individual that had come, and he was kind of leading the worship on piano. He was a really, really great, piano player, and so we're jamming, and one of the pastors from one of the local churches in San Antonio, that all of a sudden that was that's starting to resemble a little too much rock and roll, like, and so my dad was the first one to come to my defense on that. Like,
oh, cool.
Say, no, we're not going to do that, y'all. You leave my boy alone. So
that's good.
And he,
were you surprised when he did that?
Yeah, I was, but, I mean, I think, it came from a place of just wanting to protect his son. All of it did, like taking up for me, also kind of sheltering me from, just always, don't get so caught up in all this stuff that you don't see, that you lose your relationship with God, and so
that was pretty open-minded of him.
Yeah. I mean, so while he wasn't as supportive as some parents
sure
are in that regard, he was still really, really supportive, and he, bought me my first guitar and my second guitar, both Christmas presents, junior high and high school. And, but I did sneak around, and, there was some of the guys I went to high school with had a little rock band.
Yeah.
And when they found out I could play, I actually took my guitar and amp up to school and just jammed with them. And I'm just an ear player, so I don't know any of the songs they're playing. And they're just going over some stuff, and all of a sudden they're like, dude, you got to be in our band, please, And I'm like, I can't, because I'll get in trouble.
Yeah.
And that kind of that also started a weird little brouhaha in our church. Pastor's wife came up to my mom. It's common knowledge that your son has joined a rock band.
Oh my God, that's hilarious, man.
And
nothing disrespect meant, but that is really funny.
Yeah, and it was just,
it's common knowledge.
Yeah.
Shows you how times have changed. Now it's like, it'd be like it's common, not, like nobody would, like, you'd have to be so extreme. Like, it's common knowledge that your son is a porn star. I mean, like, you have to be like so extreme for anybody to even like, okay,
yeah. But it was, and again, like I said, at the time, that was when a lot of the whole, when a lot of the preachers were talking about the rock and roll and the origins of this, and you play it backwards and it's got all these messages, and it's I remember Petra is another. They were a Christian rock band that I started listening to when I was in high school, and again on the Walkman, in the headphones, never out loud around the house, but they had a song called Judas Kiss, and it starts off with this, right before the track starts. And when you play it backwards, it goes, "Why are you looking for the devil when you ought to be looking for the Lord?" That was
cool.
Yeah. And anyway, so it was during that time when it was, that was at the height of, they were having congressional hearings with,
Tipper Gore.
Yeah, exactly. It was when all that stuff was happening as well. So
right. So a lot of it was sort of, especially in Texas, cultural.
We wanted to, I imagine my parents wanted to just safeguard their son from, being on the extreme side of wanting to safeguard their son from any,
sure,
and so, I totally get the place, the good place where that came from. And also understand the kind of that, I'm of the mind that God created. He puts the creativity in all of his children.
Yeah.
Whether they believe in him or not, he's the father. That's why they call him the father of all creation, because that's, well, we can have our own like input and do our work, but it's all breathed into us from somewhere.
Sure, man.
But at least that's what I believe. That's, with all my heart. So
it's always interesting when I hear a story like yours versus, my average story for all, growing up in the Bronx where there was no rules pretty much of anything. And it was the wild, wild west from the time you're old enough to step outside. And I always, and look, there's good and bad about everything for sure, and it's just, I think you gravitate to what your comfort zone is what you're used to, regardless of what it is.
Right.
I think that just tends to be where your comfort zone is. Any low points, John, that or dark periods you've had to deal with, and how'd you get through them?
Well, I think maybe like my first divorce coinciding with the death of my father, because like,
sorry, man,
we had just found out that my father had cancer. I'm 23 years old, and then my marriage blows up at the same time, and you know, and that was like in 93, early 93 when I, you know, so that marriage was over, and then I moved back home to kind of be there to help mom, and was there, and, you know, and watch my father pass away. And, you know, how I dealt with it was not at all the way I should have. You know, there were times when I did deal with it proper, where, you know, or at least, you know, where I that's where what I know to do is lean on my faith, and lean on who, you know, who Jesus is for me.
Yeah.
But instead I leaned into my own understandings, and I stayed numb for a few years, you know, just you know, playing, and I was, you know, I was playing professionally by then, and you know, just, you know, drinking a lot, and just, you know, getting whatever emotional needs I thought, you know, needed meeting through just by whatever means I could, you know.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, my, you know, a lot of my 20s was pretty dark in that regard. There were some real bright spots too, you know, where I think through a lot of that I learned a lot of things, and was grateful that, you know, that the good Lord kept me safe through a lot of it, you know, because I look back on a few instances over the years, and I think I could just easily not be here at all. If you know, if someone hadn't found me, or someone, you know, whatever, you know, if one more turn in that direction had been taken.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, ultimately the dark places, how I, you know, at least how I can bounce back is because I realized that, okay, Lord, you let me get here because you're trying to get my attention, and you've got it now, you know. And yeah, and he always helps. He always helps me, you know, helps me get through, shows me where I'm wrong, and that's, you know, and that's a good thing, because it generally it makes me see myself the way he sees me. Okay, you know what? I'm not any different from anyone else.
Yeah.
Especially in your eyes. And in fact, in your eyes, you just love me the way I am, and not the way I ought to be. And because of that love, you're going to make me into what I ought to be if I'll let you, you know?
Sure.
And so that's, you know, kind of, you know, he's not forceful. He says, oh, you know, okay, I see you over there. I love you, but and I'm going to be right here, you know, but if you gotta, you know, if you gotta go down that path again, that's all right. But, you know, just know that, you know, I hear that, you know, and I was like, why can't I just permanently figure that out?
Yeah, man.
But yeah, that's how I've, you know, that's kind of how I dealt with it. That's how I deal with it more these days, you know, because you know, 3.5 years since I had my last drink. So
good for you, man. Awesome.
And,
very cool.
Yeah. And I quit for a while, you know, about 12 years ago, for about 3.5 years, moved back here, and you know, stepped off the wagon. I thought things would be different, and they weren't.
Yeah, man, it's tough. An addict once told me, it's nothing revolutionary. He said, you know, one is too many and 1,000's never enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what, you know, I never woke up craving a drink, that kind of thing, you know, and it wasn't like it wasn't the kind of thing where even when I stopped, like I just, gotta have that, you know, it wasn't that, but it was just a moderation
Yeah.
thing, you know,
Yeah.
where it's just, you know, well, like I said, one's too many, 20 ain't enough, you know,
Yeah.
1,000 ain't enough.
Hey, man, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So
Let's,
hope it'll help someone.
oh, it will, man. I get really good feedback on mostly anytime people share sobriety stories and stuff like that. So thanks.
Well, the last time I quit, you know, I was in a real dark place, you know, obviously, you know, and I found
nobody ever starts drinking when everything's going wonderful.
and I found myself, you know, again, just crying out to God, Lord, what do you want me to do? You know? And he just said, look, I built you and you're not wired for this. You need to put it away because, you know, just you can't handle this, you know, you can't moderate, you know, so why don't you just make your life better by just letting that go? And, you know, and I still see, you know, I'll still see an IPA or something that, that, you know, a friend will be drinking and I'm like, God, I hate you. No, but I just joke about it because I think it maybe just a little bit of humor helps me deal with it. And, you know, my boss is, he just went over 7 years and,
oh, that's great,
you know,
man.
And like, we'll go, you know, we'll get on the bus.
That's a good guy to be working with though, man.
Yeah. We're not just, you know, boss and employee. We're really good friends and, we share a lot with each other and we lean on each other, you know, when one of us is having a, you know, a rough time, you know, the other one's, you know, we'll come to, you know, he'll come to me or I'll come to him and say, man, this is just a test. Just keep looking up, dude. You just, you know, and I'm here for you if you need anything. And, so it's good to have that, you know, I mean, it's not, you know, it's a team sport. It really is, you know.
I like that. Hey, let's talk about gear for a few minutes.
Gear.
Tell
I
me,
suffer from gas.
Do you? Do you really?
Gear acquisition syndrome.
Do you really?
You know, it's been pedals mostly, I think.
Pedals.
But you know,
that's your. What is it? That's
if I can just get this one thing, it'll make me sound.
What's your number one guitar?
Right now, and for about the last 2 years, is my '93 ASAC Classic. I've got them all right here.
Dude, let's check them out. Good man.
So I bought this brand new in 1993.
It looks pretty good, man.
You know, it is, and I mean, and I beat it up pretty good. I went through a phase where I really, really, really wanted to be Pete Townsend. And
oh wow,
yeah, and and I would put a hurting on a few of my guitars, but I had
that stock.
Guitar.
The stock.
It's stock. Everything's stock, pretty much, except for I think I put a different string tree on here.
Mm-hmm. You must have got it refretted a couple of times, right?
No, this one's never been refretted, and I think it's time, probably. But I'm still playing it. And the only other thing is I got these heavy knurled knobs.
Yep.
I got them from Chio Han. Have you ever heard of the Han guitars?
Yeah, he's upstate New York, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's Jim Campolongo's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And because, well, there's
very nice guy. I spoke to him.
These are the kind that Danny Gatton used, and that's another story for a guitar that I played for. That was my main one for many years. But but it's just these MFD pickups are just amazing. Leo just, he didn't, when he sold Fender, he kept just, how can I make this better? How can I make, you know, how can I get these pickups? How can I make them stronger? How can I make them sound, you know, a unique thing? How can, you know, I mean, he just never quit working. And the cool thing about G&L is, you know, now I believe BBE owns them, but they've really managed to keep. They resurrected a CLF research, which they've gone back and found like a bunch of his old blueprints and stuff, and they're seeing some of his old visions through to production, and it's really cool. I think it's special. It's a really it's a really cool company, and G&L's been a part of my life for. Well, my second guitar was a Super Hawk. And, and I wish I still had that guitar, but I don't. But
so explain the difference for you between a Fender and a G&L for the particular guitars you've played.
I didn't know a whole lot better when it became available, and I was looking for a Tele because I was playing a Strat, which I have over here, as well as which was my only guitar, my main guitar that I was playing. But when I started playing with Clay Blaker, we were doing more country, and I'm like, man, I need a Tele. I need a Tele sound. And the only other Tele I played was my brother's 1966 Tele, but I just never had one. So I finally got this, and I played it for a few years, and then I chased after a lot of stuff, real silly stuff too. I thought, I think it'd be better if I had the 3 brass barrels or the, I want the regular Tele headstock, and this. It was more of almost, I'd say maybe more vanity.
I was going to say, it sounds like a more of a vanity thing. Yeah.
But I got into Danny Gatton in 1994. We were in Germany, and the guy we were staying with there had his 2 Electra Cruise and Deuces and 88 Elmira Street records.
Hey, Elmira Street's great.
And I heard those, and I was like blown away. And I came home and got everything I could get my hands on that was Gatton. And I got way deep into Gatton. And that same year, he passed away. And it was right after that, I was like, you know what? I'm getting the Gatton guitar.
He played G&L?
No, he played, I had the G&L by then.
Right.
I bought he had a signature model on Fender.
On Fender, okay.
And I ordered it, paid for it, waited 6 months to get it from the custom shop, and I got it, and it hardly had any output. So I had to send it back, and they had to rewire.
That is so embarrassing, man, for a company to do that.
Yeah, I know. This was the custom shop. Anyway, I could never get it to play in tune. And I ended up selling it because it was just not good. Fast forward to while I still had this G&L, I found I was out at Tour Supply. It used to be called Techstar out at Soundcheck in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
And this was in '98, and I was playing with David Kersh. We were on the Reba and Brooks and Dunn tour. We were one of the openers. Mm-hmm. And I went in there, and Randy Gabbard said, "Hey, check out this guitar. It belongs to Pat Bergeson, but he's selling it here on consignment."
Pat's a great player, man.
So it's a stock
Tom Anderson.
But I bought it, and I played it for the rest of the tour. And I called my buddy Bill Kirchen,
mm-hmm.
and I said, "Hey, when we toured together all those years ago, you said you had a guy that did your guitars, because he had an old Tele with Joe Barden's and the bridge and he goes, oh yeah, his name's Jay Montrose. He was Danny's guitar tech."
Right.
So over Christmas holidays at the end of '98, going into '99, I mailed this guitar off to Jay, and he said, "Well, look, the Gatton bridge won't fit on there because it's like an American Standard. It's the body furls are different because it's set up for a 6-saddle bridge." Mm-hmm. He goes, "But let me do some R&D, and I'll get back to you." And he developed this bridge.
Oh, he developed that just for that guitar.
And well, he developed it for my guitar. Mine is the first one, but he was selling it as the John Carroll model.
Oh, that's so cool.
Because it'll retrofit on like an American Standard telly. So if you want the ashtray bridge on your favorite American Standard,
oh, that's cool.
You
could get the John Carroll model.
But I don't think Jay is even in business anymore. I'm not even sure what happened with him. I haven't spoken to him in years. But I know that Barden makes a bridge like this. Glendale makes a bridge like this, but this was the first one like ever.
That's cool, man.
Pretty
the John Carroll bridge.
And he called it, because it was a stainless steel just like the Gatton. So you could either get the Gatton bridge or the John Carroll model. This is what he called it.
So funny.
For a while. And anyway, and he put the Barden pickups, the big gnarly knobs, and I don't have the Bardens in here now. But
you prefer maple necks, I assume.
I do. It's what I've always played.
Sure.
But I'm not opposed to, playing, Rosewood. And I was just, I was talking with Ron from GNL the other day, and he was telling me about Caribbean rosewood. He goes, it's actually a little harder, so it's a little, you can, maple guys tend to like this too, because it still feels the kind of the same, feels
feels like maple,
harder and brighter. But I played this a lot, and that's the guitar I was playing when, I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, it's all beat up, man. It's totally.
You can see the Les Paul signature, on it says John. Dear John, keep picking Les Paul.
That's cool.
And
where did he sign that?
Just
look. Where were you when you signed that?
At the Iridium.
At the Iridium,
I went in August 1st, 2005. My wife and I flew up and we got with Jay, and he's like, yeah, we'll go out, and he goes, we'll get up and play. He'll because Les was Les loved Danny. And
so you got to play with him.
Yeah, and so I got to play
That's
two
cool,
songs,
man.
And it was great because Les is he turns around and goes, he sees our, this telly and Jay's telly on the piano, and he goes, well, there's a couple of ugly guitars sitting up here. And and so we got up and he signed it.
That's cool, man.
And this was more. This went through more of the Pete Townsend phase than any other guitar. It was
that's really beat up.
And, I really abused it. I don't play it much anymore. I keep it. I didn't want it to be on the road anymore, and just for fear of something happening to it. But I
it looks pretty fragile, man. To be honest with you,
I still take it to all my sessions, and it still gets a lot of. It still gets a lot of work too, so.
I met Pat about 3-4 weeks ago when I was in Nashville there. What a lovely guy.
It's funny. I had this guitar all those years, and I guess in 2009, when I got on Facebook, and when Facebook was, I guess, kicking off, 2008, 2009, I friended him. I saw him, somehow, and I sent him a message, said, hey, I just wanted you to know that I'm the guy that bought that guitar from you, from Techstar. He's like, oh, cool. He goes, I wondered about that guitar. He goes, I played that some with Chet,
Yeah, that's funny. I was like, not surprised at all.
I was like, cool. I said, well, that's neat. This guitar has been on stage with Chet and Les Paul now. So.
That's right. It's got some mojo.
Yeah.
Don't get rid of that.
And it's been a real good. It's what I used on the bulk of the Chris Cagle stuff and a lot of the stuff down here, And I used to play 12s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did. When I got it, I was playing.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'9.5".
Okay, so you're about my size.
And it was in '99, I guess, when I got the guitar, and it was just when Jay fixed it up. He put the neck kit on it and the whole. He made it exactly like what Danny's was. Fender would not do exactly what Danny wanted. So they just kind of threw their hands up and said, okay, when they send us a guitar, we'll just put all our stuff on it and play it that way.
Yeah.
And one of the things he did that was cool was he would take the neck off and route the holes and put machine threaded inserts and heavy duty stainless bolts. So it's really connected. And it makes it sustain almost like a neck through guitar. And plus you can take the neck on and off, as much as you want without having to, without having to worry about stripping wood and things like that, and just little things that I guess that Danny liked to have on his guitar. So it was more like a Gatton guitar than my actual Gatton guitar.
Well, Anderson does stuff like that. I had an Anderson for a short period of time. He has these little creature comforts that are really nice, and there's always a sonic payoff in them, which is really cool.
It's funny. I've seen on their, like on their Insta, like they're making an ashtray bridge guitar now, and I'm like, I'm over here like, I did that a long time ago. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and that's cool because people want to throw back to that.
So your ASAT would be number 1. Your Anderson T would be number 2. Is there a number 3?
Yeah. Well, I've kind of been having a love affair with my '89 bubblegum pink.
I'll tell you, you got a love affair with Candy Apple Red is what you got a love affair with, man.
And
all them guitars are Candy Apple Red are pretty close to it, right?
This is bubblegum pink. I don't know if you can see it.
No, I can't. I can't see it on the Zoom. Okay, it's pink. Okay.
And it had Fender lace sensors in it, and my grandmother, who we called Mamaw,
yeah, of course,
told me one day that I just love that guitar, and so I put these big mailbox letters on it that said Mamaw.
That's so funny. And what is that? That's an 86 Strat?
It's like an 89 or 90, I think. It was a Strat Plus, and I hadn't played it for years, and I fixed it up because I wanted to get my G&L back, because I actually had traded my G&L away to another friend of mine that had a Strat, and I called him up like 2.5 years ago. I was like, hey, you still have my ASAT Classic? He's like, why, you want to trade back? And I'm like, can we?
And he did.
Yeah, he did. And so I was
cool.
thankful. But so I got this working again, and I bought this pick guard loaded with 69. They're hand wound from the custom shop. I can't remember the guy's name. There's one of the pickup winders there. So it was wired, and so I got some new little letters, and I put Mamaw back on there because this guitar.
Where is Mamaw? I can't. Oh, there it goes. Yeah.
This guitar can't not be Mamaw,
Yeah.
And I really dig it. I've tweaked the neck a little bit and got it.
What's on the nut?
Playing pretty good. Oh, this it came with the original. It was one of those Strat Pluses from back then, and it came with that original. The Wilkinson nut, I guess.
Okay.
And this is one of the roller nuts. It's got the 2 little ball bearings in each.
Yeah. Those are great nuts. I have that on a Strat of mine. It's really good.
Yeah, it stays in tune pretty well.
Sure.
I've got the bar kind of set up, kind of up so I can do little Jeff Becky kind of things if I, am trying to feel like I want to do that. And, but I have to mention a couple of others.
Yeah, man.
I had this guitar built specifically for me by a company here in Texas, Shaw Guitars.
I've heard of them.
And this was like the thing that I wanted, the color, everything. And it's got a big old fat neck.
Yeah, really fat neck, man. And was that like a roasted maple or something?
Yeah, it's figured maple, just a thin maple veneer over swamp ash, and
I'm sorry, the fretboard. It's
yes, it's just like a bird's eye maple. It's dirty.
Yeah.
So I think they left it unfinished.
Okay.
And so like, it's got all my dirt. And I was playing that exclusively until I got my GNL back. When it was a funny thing, when I got the GNL back, I strung it up and I played a G chord and was like, oh wow. And then I spent a little time with it and I thought, why did I ever stop playing this guitar?
Yeah.
But
Good for you, man.
But yeah, this was special because it was made for me. It had a beautiful pick guard too that was made out of wood that was the same cut of maple as the fretboard.
Mm-hmm.
And it kept bowing up and I took it off and I thought, well, this really looks beautiful with this just whole blue. So I ended up leaving it.
Hold that up just a little higher. Yeah, it's great, man.
And
is that semi-hollow or something?
No, it's not. The Anderson is a hollow T, but this is it's a solid piece of wood.
Okay.
And it's kind of got, and I've tried a bunch of different pickups in here, and I haven't really landed on any that I really dig. But because this one has such a fat neck as compared to the other ones, I think what I'm going to do with this one is put the Joe Bardens that I originally got for my Anderson, pop those in here, put a 500K pots, and make this the thing if I want to go full gat and get that tone, because I think it would be a good match for this. So
do you do most of your work yourself? Like, do you do your own pickup changes and stuff?
I have, and again, it's one of those things I never did until I just thought, out of financial necessity, maybe I should get on YouTube and learn how to do this stuff.
Sure.
So I popped pickups in and out, but my soldering job is,
no, I hear you. No, it's a skill set like everything else.
I once this guy that told me he was a really good solderer. He bragged, said, I could solder for the government. And I think now anymore, like no, you would be way too good to solder for the government. I could solder for the government.
Hey, you need the most incompetent services for the government. That's consistent with what they're delivering as opposed to the least incompetent.
But and then I just also have to say that my Collings.
Oh, nice, man.
D2H. If you go look for Cory Morrow on Austin City Limits back in 2002. He's playing this guitar. It's brand new and pristine.
Wow.
He put most of the miles on it. He started playing some Gibsons live and wasn't playing this, and I borrowed it a few years ago. I said, hey, can I got an acoustic thing. I hadn't really had a good acoustic guitar. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, whenever you want that back, just let me know. He's like, just hang on to it, and I just started playing it a bunch and doing the acoustic duo gigs. And 3 years ago on my birthday, we were playing at Do-Si-Do. And it was like a week after my birthday, and he started the show off. We walked up, they introduced us, and we walked up, and he goes, John's birthday was last week, and I forgot to get him a present, so I'm going to get him. I've got him something. He's got this cardboard box, not wrapped or anything, and he just sets it on the stool. And I'm like, okay. And I opened it up, and it's got this big bow in it. Yeah. And he takes the bow out and he sets it on the guitar.
Oh, cool, man.
He goes, happy birthday. And I was just like,
that's really cool.
Yeah. And so, and it's just it's great. And it's the one I did the anthem on, and
that's really nice,
man. Plays like a dream. It's.
I think Alex Whedon mentioned Do-Si-Do because that's a very memorable.
Yeah, he does his All-Star gig there.
Right. Okay. I knew it. I'm not. Yeah.
It's a really cool dinner venue, and they have their own coffee. In fact, that's what I'm drinking right now.
Do-Si-Do coffee, man.
Coffee. But it's a real nice, a lot of wood in there, real friendly sound, good little music venue and stuff. And it's one of those places that hopefully when I get my record done and start doing my own gigs, I'd like to maybe get booked into there, and because I think it'd be a good place for
a local guy.
And But anyway, so yeah, I had to mention that too.
No, cool, man. That was a nice story.
Corey gave that to me, and I'm just grateful, man. He's such a generous cat. He really is.
Top 3 desert island discs, John.
Let me see. Where do I have this? I know I had this somewhere. Okay. Mine are, not typical. One of them is a mixtape that was handed to me 35 years ago. By a person called Kenny Redmond. Now, I don't know where this person is, but my brother knew him, and my brother was, I was in high school, and my brother was just bragging to a friend of his who was a guitar player. Man, my brother's he's turning into a pretty good little guitar player, and for whatever reason, he took the time to fill up a 90-minute cassette tape of music, and he handed it to my brother and goes, "Why don't you give this to your little brother? And if he
that was so nice.
And if he can learn to play all this, he'll really be onto something." And so the only thing that was on the tape, written on the tape, was the name of the group for each track and the name of the guitar player that was on the track. So, and this is all the information I had. This is in 84, 85. And I start listening to this stuff, and I wore this thing out because I'd never heard anything like this.
What were some of the bands on there?
So the first track was this group called the Yellow Jackets with a guitar player by the name of Robin Ford.
Yeah.
The second was the Steve Morse Band with Steve Morse.
Yeah.
Larry Carlton was the third track. and then there was, Brother to Brother by Gino Vanelli. And that guitar solo by Carlos Rios is just one of the scariest things you'll ever hear. It's like jazz and rock all just chops put together.
He's had some great guitar players play for him.
Herb Ellis and Joe Pass. There was some John Luke Ponty tracks with
Daryl Sturmer. No.
Well, Daryl Sturmer was on one, but the bulk of the stuff that was on this tape was
Glazer?
Alan Holsworth.
Yeah, right.
But I remember that name, and it was funny because there was some Phil Collins video I was watching like 2 or 3 years after I got this tape.
And you saw Daryl on there.
Well, no, he's acting out while they're listening to the music, and the guy's like, "Who's the guitar player?" And he goes, "Daryl Sturmer." It's in the video. It's like in the video, it's Daryl Sturmer, and I'm like, "That's the guy on my tape."
Yeah.
So and I just listened to that interview just the other day.
He's a lovely guy, man.
So cool.
He's a great, and we had the opportunity to hang out a couple of weeks later. He was in town here, so we had dinner and went to the show. It was great.
But it was cats like Lee Ritenour and George Benson on a oh golly, it escapes me. Anyway, it took me years. I mean, years and years and years. But I made, especially the last 5 or 6 years, I've made a concerted effort to finally get digital copies of all of.
Oh, that's great, man.
This music. And I've got the playlist. And the funny thing is, because he had to fit all this cool stuff on the 90-minute tape, some of the whole songs are just faded, like it'll be faded in just to the guitar part, Right. So I like actually have all the tracks, properly now in all this stuff, and it's really great.
So Kenny Redmond is not a guitarist. He's the guy who gave you the tape.
Well, I think he played. I think he was a guitar player, but again, I asked my brother, here a while back, I said, have you ever caught up with this? I just always wanted to thank this guy for doing this, because if there was literally any one piece of media that I would have to say really just turned my whole world. It would be that tape.
Yeah.
You know, as a young guy. And
I don't know if you know this. I had Robin on the show too, so you can check that interview out if you want.
Yeah, I think I do believe I watched that. And it's funny. I'm friends with a guy that played drums with him for a while, Wes Little.
Oh yeah, I met Wes when I was up in Nashville.
We were
Wes Little, Brian Allen.
He was Joe Nichols' drummer when I was there. So
that's interesting. It's a small world, man.
Yeah, so we toured together for about a year, and
I had another
good guy, great drummer.
Who did I have that played recently for Joe Nichols? Young kid out of Canada. I can't think of his name. Was playing for Joe about 2 years ago, or 3 years ago. And anyway, not important, but it's a small world.
Yeah, man. It kind of is, you know, and that's the cool thing about this guitar community, you know, and it's just, you know, just the musicians in general. Like you get to see, you know, run into guys that are playing with different people at different times, and how it all just kind of can interact together and come, you know, full circle in a way.
Sorry, miss. I had to look it up. I knew it was LaPlante, Stefan LaPlante. Sorry, that's my own OCD.
No worries. I don't know him, but
so this mixtape would be number one.
Yeah, and then boy, it's really hard for me to choose because I kind of lived. I tend to live in certain areas for a long time.
Oh man, this is just like for right now, not like forever. Like I know if I asked you this in a half hour, it'd be three different.
But yeah, so you know, and you know, Chester and Lester might be one. You remember that record, Chet Atkins and Les Paul?
No, I don't.
So Les Paul came down to Nashville, and they Chet and Les did a record together, and they pretty much just played all these songs live, and they recorded their banter.
Oh, so it's got to be pretty funny.
Dude, it's so good. It's so good. I mean, Larry London, the great late Larry London's playing drums, you know, and Les is kind of, you know, giving him shit about stuff, and, you know, just all in a just joking, great way. And it's just so cool. But that was one of the records that just really, you know, as a kid, you know, and I was allowed to listen to that.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
But, you know, and I found on Amazon, because I was like, what Phil Cagle record would I do? But there's you can, you know, if it's a disc, there's three records, Town to Town, Flipside, and Play Through Me would be on one of the discs, I think, you know, and you know, and also, you know, I might sneak Morph the Cat from Donald Fagen.
Man, you're the second person that told me about that record in a week. Somebody else, that was their favorite record.
It's, you know, I really dig it. I'm
Wayne did
playing on that, yeah. And I'm also a huge fan. I think Ringo said it. All guitar players are just frustrated drummers, you know. And so I've always been a huge fan of a lot of the great drummers, and Keith Carlock, you know, is all over that too. And he's just so precise, and his groove is just so good, you know. I mean, he's the only drummer. He did that Steely Dan "Everything Must Go" record. He's the only drummer to ever play a whole Steely Dan record.
Yeah. Well, he plays with Wayne too, doesn't he?
Yeah. And
he's Wayne's
primary. I think Wayne got him. Wayne. That's how Wayne got him on the.
With yeah, that makes sense. You know, totally makes sense.
And but yeah, so.
Man, tough questions now. This is going to be tough for you. What do you like most about yourself, John?
Yeah, I've been waiting on that question, because I know you ask it to everybody, and
not everybody, but the people I think it'll help.
And I've thought about it a lot, and I don't like a whole lot of things about myself. Like when I look at myself from just a human perspective, when I look back on a lot of the choices I made, and on a lot of the way I treated people, the way I handled relationships, you know. But one thing I've learned as I've really delved deeper into my faith What I like, it's when I look at myself the way that Jesus looks at me.
Yeah.
He's not disappointed. He's not. And it's, like I said, growing up, there was one of those legalistic things where, we were taught to believe that you're just dangling over hell with God waiting just to cut the string and drop you in if you mess up, and that's just, as I've really tried to read more and learn more and discover more and just talk to him more, I realized, oh no, that's not what he's like at all. And he's, he just loves me, and I can see him looking at me, and there's no disappointment at all. He's like, you're not getting into here because of what you did, dude. It's because of what I did. and so I like that, and I think I like. I enjoy the gifts that I've been given. I think,
musically.
Yeah. I mean, just because I've gotten to do so many cool things because I could play guitar.
So just let me clarify. This is interesting. You are able to accept yourself when you're looking at yourself from from God's eyes and from your perspective, but tough to accept yourself when you're looking from your eyes. That is interesting.
Well,
no, but if you say that out loud, and you think about it, I probably help you accept yourself more from yourself in a sense.
It does. I think because, we call God the Father.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when I see my son,
right.
And if he's messing up or, being disrespectful or whatever, there's this thing where, again, part of me can be annoyed by it, but at the same time, I'm like, who doesn't?
But you don't love them less.
Who doesn't love? Yeah, exactly. Who don't love a kid? And when you think about it, you think, man, why did I get so upset about that? He was just being, he was being just like you were when you were that age.
Yeah, right.
And so the understanding, I think, that comes along with that, I think that changed a lot, for me. Obviously, having.
How old is he?
13.
Oh man,
just turned 13.
You're in the thick of it now, man.
Yep. Oh yeah.
It's better.
It's great, man. It's awesome.
It gets better. My kids are much older, and it's very rewarding now, to be honest with you. Best childhood memory.
I think, I was thinking about that too, and just like, one of my favorite things to do would be just load up into the back of the pickup truck, and I just remember being a kid, like getting in the back of the truck. We're going to Whataburger, like that. That was, maybe once or twice a year that would happen. But
sure.
It was like, it was just kind of that, either that or maybe, being a kid and watching my dad and my brother play guitar, and just like seeing them and like, man, I wonder if I could do that one of these days,
What did your dad do for a living?
He was a brick mason, laid brick, and had his own. He worked for companies for a while, but when we moved to Pleasanton, he struck out on his own, started his own business, and just did jobs for people. He built custom fireplaces, and
that has just got to be a tough job in that Texas heat, man.
Oh man, it. And if you ever watched a bricklayer, Imagine yourself going to the gym and getting, doing the curls, but just, no, you're not doing sets. You're just going to do this for 8 hours. You might stop and take a drink of water or take lunch, but then it's back to just, and it's hard. It's so hard work.
Very physical job, man.
I did that. For in the summers, to make money.
Makes money.
I would go work with my dad and shoveling sand and mixing mortar and so
it is a very tough job, man.
Yeah. So I thought, man, there's got to be something easier to do than this. Although I didn't know what.
It's a tough job. Hey, John, happiest time of your life or happiest moment?
I'd probably say when our son was born. It was so great because when he came out, he was not moving, and they kind of had to, do a little, the doctors from the NICU ran down, they kind of did a little, I guess they just kind of poke at him and kind of wake it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he started breathing, but he was hurting because I think it's somewhere in the birth canal, he had swallowed some of the what is it called? Meconium.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And so he was having a hard time. It was real labored breathing, but we saw him, and then I carried him down to they didn't take him into the NICU. They said, well, we just want to watch him in the nursery for a few hours, just to make sure he's breathing, and then we'll bring him back. And I just remember walking down the hall, carrying him, in my hands, and just looking into this, just unbelievable, I mean, and it literally, like, I could see all these cool things that I've got to do. I jumped out of a plane over the North Shore of Oahu, skydiving one time. I played with Les Paul. I've done this and done that, yada yada. But no, dude, nothing at all compares to this. It was so cool, and I remember something that happened probably an hour later. So I took him to the nurse, and I watched him a little bit when they set him in his crib, and I'd gone back and was hanging out with my wife and she was like, go back and check on him. And so I walked back down and of course I totally wanted to, and I'm way down the hall and I can see this big glass window area, and there's all these babies and they're being carried around, and I saw him out of all these babies from a long ways off, and I went, that's my son. And I zeroed in on him, and sure enough, I never took my eyes off it, and she was taking him back and putting him in, and it was the exact baby, and I was like, how did that happen? How do you already know, And I think that's probably a God thing too.
Yeah, man.
You just there's that it was pretty weird, but yeah. I mean, we were it was such a joy, joyous time in our lives. Just got this person. We made a person.
It's funny how that works, isn't it? Who's had the biggest influence on you musically and also personally? Oh. And let me qualify that. Probably should be somebody that you actually know.
Yeah. Gosh. I mean, besides, and I would say besides God, like in terms of like a human person.
Yeah.
I would have to kind of say maybe my older brother, Randy. He was the first lead guitar player I ever heard, just watching him pick out these melodies. He's the one who kind of turned me on to all my first influences. He had the he worked at a Christian radio station early on in his radio career, and so he's bringing all this music, to me, and I'm putting it on the record player, and I'm hearing people like Phil Cagle and Andre Crouch and all these people, and so he would bring, like, for birthday, a lot of my birthdays or whatever, he'd bring a new tape of something, when I was junior high and high school. So that'd be like his gift to me, would be just more music, and he encouraged me, and I mean, the first band I was in was his band,
right,
and so in terms of that, and he was the older brother, and I think he was who I looked up to the most. I think, growing up, I wanted to be just like my big brother.
Do you guys live near close still?
He's down in San Antonio, so yeah, we're pretty close. I don't get to see him near as much as I'd like to, and he's always, he's like, man, if you get a weekend off, let's go hunting, or let's go, get out and that's the other hobby I think I might have said, but I really don't know near enough about hunting and fishing as I'd like to, because I don't really get to do it, because most of the people that want to take me on a hunting trip or a fishing trip, or they'll go on the weekends, and
that's when you're digging.
It's kind of a hard sell to to tell my my wife and son, oh yeah, I got a weekend off, so I'm going to go hang out with some sweaty guys somewhere.
Yeah, I get it.
And so I don't, it usually, if I get to do it as part of a gig, because Cory and I we work with this ministry down here called Majesty Outdoors. Where they take fatherless teens, and they just love on them, and they fit them, and they take them out fishing and hunting, and they got sponsors, and it's a cool little show on it runs on the Pursuit channel.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a cool little deal. It's called Majesty Outdoors, and so I've got to do a little hunting and fishing, like, just through that area where they have. In fact, Cory's current single is the theme song to the show, called "Let's Take This Outside."
That's cool, man.
Yeah, and so getting to be a part of that. But yeah, I mean, my it would be my big brother.
And personally, same thing.
Yeah, I think so. Either that, or, I mean, my wife, she's had a huge influence on me. She's taught me to think in ways I wouldn't have thought otherwise, I believe, so she's a gifted photographer, writer, and witty, and
that's cool, man.
Wonderful individual, so.
2 more questions, man. Tell me the toughest decision you've ever had to make, or the most difficult thing you've had to do.
I would say, without going into too much detail, I had to come clean about some things that I had been keeping to myself, and it was ruining. My life is running people's lives around me, and in order to get truly free of some of that stuff, it's got to come to light.
Good for you, man.
And when I had to, and I knew it, and
it's one of those things. The pain of holding back is greater than the pain of coming clean. So you got to do it.
Yeah. Well, just, I realized that if I didn't, I was going to leave a real unhealthy legacy for my son.
Good for you, man.
And I didn't want that for him.
Good for you, man.
And had to change the course of my family tree, going forward.
Hey, man, thank you.
And so that was, again, it was a tough thing, and it hurt people, it hurt the person in my life that I had to tell it to, but I figured if there's any chance of survival, then 100% transparency was going to have to be the agenda of the day and of the life. So
thank you, man. I appreciate you sharing that, and I'm glad you did that.
Yeah, me too. And sometimes sometimes you go, maybe I shouldn't have, because, but ultimately I think I'm better for it. I think, it teaches us a lot of things, it does. And maybe just, if not for anything else, to share with some people and say, just, man, be honorable in all your relationships. And do
you feel better? That's really the test, I think.
I do.
Yeah, you did the right thing.
I do. And that's one of the things that, that I've changed, about myself over the last several years, is learning to value relationships. I don't know if you were gonna. Yeah,
I was gonna ask you. Yeah, man, that was the last question. Biggest change in your personality?
Yeah, and I'm still. It's an ongoing process, But I
man,
realized,
for all of us,
several years ago, again, like I said, I grew up in church, and it was the kind of thing that I just didn't question, because it's what I grew up in. And this is the truth, because it's the truth, because we just told you, and I got to a point where I decided, I see people around me talking about the joy, the real, and this relationship, and all these things that they have with God, and I believe that, but I really want to go deeper, and I want to experience this stuff. And so it was really something that helped me learn, because I did dive in and I listened to some really cool teaching and stuff. And one of the things that I learned about myself was that I placed value on people, not for intimacy and love and just relationship, but what do I get out of this?
Wow, that's pretty heavy, man.
And I went through it was almost like the AA, where you reach out to people that you've hurt. I called some people out of the blue, and said, hey, what's up, man? It's like everything's got. I said, I just need you to forgive me for something. Whatever do you mean? Some of my old bosses I worked for, I pretty much should have been fired from every gig I've ever had, but
wow, that was really cool of you to it's kind of like making amends, basically.
I skated by because, I was just good. I was just a good enough player to have a bad attitude towards some of my bosses and stuff. And I told some of these guys, I said, look, I was not subject to your mission. I was subject to my own, I wasn't there to serve you. And, it was all about me, and and one of the guys, it was Cory, he was paying me a whole lot of money, and he got to a place where he couldn't anymore, and we was changing. And so I left. It wasn't all just for that, but it was enough to where I said, I valued you for what you could do for me. And then when you finally had to make a decision to benefit you because you needed to, I took that as rejection, and so yeah, it's about learning to not what do I get out of this, and it's the same, I think, and it's made me even guarded about going after endorsements and things. And I kind of got caught up in that just a couple of years ago again, too, just like trying to get whatever deal I could with
all the gear possible.
Yeah. And I just, and a friend of mine kind of, he just sent a weird little text, an emoji, because I said, but I only want just this one pedal from them, and he's like, dude, kind of like not cool. And it stopped me in my tracks and was like, you're right. And I ended up buying that pedal, and I won't say what or who it was, but it was junk. And I sold it a week later, and I thought, wow, why would,
yeah,
why would I go after somebody? So I've kind of made that decision too. I want to build relationships with the people that I work with, and really, I want to play the gear that I like and that I truly like. And then if, should it come up, I'll represent that company if I really believe in it, So, I was trying to get other string deals that were easier to get than, say, Diodario, but I love Diodario. I was like, these are the best strings. And I stopped then too. I was like, I'm just going to buy these and play these because that's what I like to play. And, and now I've been signed on as an artist with them, and that's cool, but that's kind of what I want to do now, is just have relationships with people and value them for who they are and not what I can get out of it,
First of all, thank you, man. It's really cool of you to share that. What brought about that change, though?
There was some,
if you're to the extent you're comfortable,
there was some dark times. And like I said, I really wanted to dive in further about just, this God that I've supposedly believed in all my life.
Right.
And I want to know him more. And I listened to, a pastor, from Nashville that counseled me through a lot of stuff when we were living up there, Jerry Bryant. We call him Papa Jerry. He sent me some audio material, and one of them was by this guy named Jack Frost. He's no longer with us, but he's got a teaching series called From Slavery to Sonship. And I lived in that for a while, and I soaked it up, and I was just like, wow, there's something to that, and one of the things he, had preached was about valuing people, and not just the big fish. One of the things he said, yeah, if you're nice to the head pastor at church, but then you go out and you're rude to the wait staff on a Sunday afternoon, then you're not a nice person, know? And I thought, wow, that makes all the sense in the world, and
dude, I've always said you could tell a lot more about someone's character, how they treat the waiter, than how they treat the guy that's paying the bill.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
Exactly. And I've been guilty of that, reaching out to, just, praise me, promote me, do this, the other. And man, and when I was listening to that got under my skin, man, and got really, really, really dealt with my spirit. And I thought, man, oh God, forgive me. And I asked a lot of people for forgiveness over that. Some of them may have forgiven me, some of them may or not, but
well, you can't control that, man. The fact that you asked, that was really, really cool.
Yeah. Just, I want to be different. Want to be, want to change and keep changing, and I struggle every day, thankful for God's grace in all those areas where he says, it's okay, dude. I know I was human. I walked among you and you're going to be all right, man. I'm going to get you through this. We're learning, enjoy the process, enjoy the relationship. because that's kind of what it, points to, just for me.
Well, John Carroll, thank you, man. That was very cool of you to share that, man. I'm really grateful. That was very kind of you, and I'm glad you're feeling better about it. Most important, because that's the measure, really, for everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm grateful too. I'm grateful to be able to share a little bit of this and share it with myself again, because some of this stuff I kind of need to be reminded of, even if it's coming out of my mouth.
I hear you.
I've sat down and talked to someone else, before, who's been having a trouble, and I just trying to encourage them, if this from the stuff that I've heard, and I was like, wow, I really needed to hear that.
Man,
so it came right out of my mouth, but I needed to hear it too, so it ended up blessing me and kind of waking me up, and just be a little more compassionate. You never know, you never know what someone's going through. You never know.
No, you don't.
The guy that cut you off in traffic, or there's, how would the world change if we loved on everybody, even the assholes?
Yeah, right. Be a lot less stressful, I'll tell you that much. Hey, man, thank you for everything. I can't thank you enough for your time. You've been real generous with it. Thanks for sharing all your stories, man. It was very cool, very cool. And I'm glad you've had a lot of magic moments lately, let's call it, for lack of better things, man. It sounds like you're feeling better about your life, so I'm happy for you.
It really is, and man, things are spinning in a really cool direction. I'm trying to embrace more of a growth mindset and stepping out of my comfortable sideman zone, and making this record, and gonna do some more things. I got another Brent Mason deal that we're cooking up for sometime in March at Guitar Sanctuary. So that's going to be cool. And so I'm excited. I'm a little scared, because again, I'm like, I'm not doing this. Can I just be a sideman? But I know that I need to, and it's exciting. And so I'm grateful for that. Finally, kind of getting around to doing some of the things I've been, secretly wanting to do for years, but, just been too scared. And so it's definitely cool stuff that's going to be happening over the course of the next few months, and hopefully the next few years. So we'll see.
Well, I would certainly love to be a part of that. And let me just tell people where to find you. And when your new record comes out, please come back on the show, man. Turn people onto
absolutely.
it.
Thank you.
It's John Carroll, 2 R's, 2 L's. He's got a new album in the works, and hopefully he'll be coming back on here to talk about it. Instagram, the John Carroll. Again, 2 R's, 2 L's, and it's John, John. Facebook, find his page, not his personal account, John Carroll. And he's also got some stuff you could find on YouTube. Look up John Carroll and Brent Mason. Really great track. And if you're in Sanctuary's in the Dallas area?
Yeah, it's up in McKinney. So.
Great. McKinney, Texas. If you're I'm sure it's going to be on their Facebook page or their website even.
Yeah, I think they just locked in a date of March 21st for that. And
great.
So yeah, it's going to be, the last one was sort of a little last minute and thrown together. It came off great, and it was just awesome. It was
so good to get to play track.
With him, and then
great playing on there, man.
And then we did the track, for it. We gave to everyone, and it's out there on iTunes, and I'm going to include it on the record as well. And
awesome.
But yeah, I'm excited for that, because I think there'll be a little more promotion in it, and hopefully we'll get some cats out there to check it out. And
definitely, man.
Yeah,
definitely.
It'll be fun.
And if you are out there and you see Cory Morrow on tour, go say hello to John and tell him what's up. Man, thank you very much. Any final words of wisdom?
I don't know if I could give any words of wisdom or not, other than just work hard. I think I've told people more lately, because I'm just now, after 50 years of a kind of a fixed mindset. I'm learning a little more about a growth mindset, and I'm trying to embrace that. It's easier said than
Awesome.
done. But
of course.
But I had a guy tell me last night, I subbed for Redd last night with hay bale. And
okay, hold on a second. Let me just explain what this is. If you guys listen, don't know Redd Volkaert, John is the only guy that Redd gets to sub from. Redd Volkaert is one of the most amazing players. I had him on the show a couple of years back. Oh my God, he's so talented and he's such a nice guy. If you haven't heard that episode, listen to it. It's Redd with 2 Ds, R-E-D-D, Volkaert. John subs from, go ahead. So you subbed for Redd last night.
So, and a couple of my friends
at the Continental Club.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Continental Club, the hay bale Sunday. And a couple of my, like 2 or 3 of my guitar player buddies was out there. And one of them said, man, just, if I could do what you do, and I looked at him, and I used to say, well, yeah, I guess, because I mean, I haven't worked too hard at any of this, but I think about where I could have ended up by now had I embraced that, 20, 30 years ago,
right?
And really put time in. And I just said, well, you can.
Yeah.
You can.
Practice.
Yeah. If there's something you want to do, especially on a guitar, I mean, like Keith Richards said, it's just 6 this way and 12 this way. I mean, you'd think you'd have it figured out by now, but it's all, it still always presents new challenges, but that's part of the process. And if there's something you want to do, if you're willing to put in the work and dedicate yourself to it, throw yourself into it, you can.
There you go. Hey, man, thank you for everything. Let me just wrap up. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels with your friends. Thanks very much to John Carroll for spending time with us. Again, check out the John Carroll, 2 R's, 2 L's on Instagram, and John Carroll's page on Facebook. And most important, remember that happiness, John, you should be saying this. Remember that happiness is a choice. So choose wisely.
It's my favorite. The definition of happiness, that question, I was like, that's the thing you say at the end. Happiness is a choice. So be nice, enjoy yourself, and have fun with your guitar. Until next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. And John, thank you for everything. You bet. Thank you, man.